He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 4, final episode of Season 4, and I've got the head coach at North Atlanta High School, Coach Jamie Aull. Thanks for being on with us.
Thanks for having me. So it's going to be a privilege and a pleasure.
Well, Coach, I'm so glad you agreed to be on this one with me to close out a great season. And start by telling everybody where you grew up and where you went to school.
So I grew up in Jonesboro, Georgia, in Clayton County. My parents still live in the house where we grew up, and I ended up playing at Mount Zion High School for Coach Jackie Green.
Legend.
Yeah, legend. Awesome coach, awesome guy. He still reaches out to me now that I'm into coaching and gives me words of support and words of wisdom from time to time. And we were fortunate to win 2 region championships while I was there. Won one my sophomore year, and then we finished 14-1 my senior year. We lost to Oconee County in the finals. That was coached by Jeff Herring that ended up going down to Camden the next year. But it was still a great season, great run, and I just look back on those times with a lot of fond memories.
Are you aware that Coach Green can sing?
Yes, I am. He
That
can sing,
joker can
play the guitar.
Not just a football coach. He can do other things.
No doubt. He's definitely a talented musician. I see on Facebook he's still working gigs out at some of the fine dining establishments out in the Peachtree City, Fayette County, Fayetteville area. Playing the guitar and singing to people.
And just a good dude, too. I mean, he always took time with us younger coaches, and that's awesome that you got to play for a man like that. So did you just play football in high school, or did you do anything else?
Yes, sir. I played football. Our defensive line coach was also the head wrestling coach, and he tried to talk me into doing that and invited me to come watch a practice my freshman year, and I sat and watched for about 30 minutes and said, no, I don't think this is for me. I'm going to go back to the weight room.
Yeah. You're not exactly a regular-sized human anyway. So.
No, sir. I'm a large human being, large American now, and I was back then, too. I guess my freshman year, I was about 290 pounds, so I would have had to cut weight to get to heavyweight, and running and eating tuna fish with no mayonnaise on it for lunch wasn't in my wheelhouse.
That wasn't real appealing to
you. No, sir.
So did you get a chance to go play at the next level after high school?
Yes, sir. I played at the University of West Georgia. I was there from fall of 2000 through the fall of 2004. That was my senior season. I graduated in July of 2005.
Who was your head coach while you were there?
Well, I had 3 of them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So my first year, my redshirt freshman year, we had Glenn Spencer, who's gone on, and he's been defensive coordinator at several high-profile Power 5 programs. But he was awesome, and we won the conference that year. And then my second year, we had Gary Otten, and he was my position coach as well at the time. He was O-line coach, and he was the assistant offensive coordinator when I first got there. Well, he ended up getting the head job my second year, and going into that summer, going into the third year, he decided coaching wasn't for him anymore, and he got out of it and then we ended up they ended up hiring Mike Ledford. And he was our head coach the rest of the time I was there.
What was it like as a college football player when your position coach becomes the head coach? That can't be fun.
Well, it changed the dynamics a little bit because now he's worried about everything, not just the position group. So, he might come into a meeting grumpy or upset about something that didn't have anything to do with us. So we're getting chewed out in film because some DB did something wrong and got in the doghouse. So that part of it wasn't necessarily as fun, but Coach Otten was pretty level-headed. He was a good ball coach. He knew football. He played for Bear Bryant at Alabama, so obviously he knew how to get it done. So it was a pleasure to play for him for sure.
Well, I ask people this all the time. When you went to college, did you know you were going to coach, or did you go to be like an accountant or something and just wandered into the wrong line?
I think I decided I wanted to be a high school football coach my senior year in high school. So that was the goal. I mean, I knew there wasn't much future playing football for me beyond college. So I wanted to be involved in the game and stay involved in it because I love it, and that was the way I could do it. So, and I wanted to do high school because high school I think is hanging on as the purest form of it. So that was kind of why I chose the path that I chose.
So what was your first job out of college?
So my first job out of college, I was the offensive line coach at my alma mater, Mount Zion High School. I was working for Bob Ryan. Bob Ryan was the head coach. Jarrett Laws was our offensive coordinator. It was pretty much a whole new staff because Coach Green had just retired. So Coach Ryan was on Coach Green's staff like 2 or 3 years prior to his retirement, and he ended up hiring a whole new group of guys and put the thing together for that 05 season.
So what did you do? Like, what was your position?
I was the offensive line coach.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had a stroke moment there.
No worries. So yeah, I was at home coaching the offensive line and trying to make those guys a little better. Wasn't easy because I think my right guard weighed 175 pounds and my left guard was maybe 190. I mean, we were still in the wing tee at the time, so it wasn't as bad. We weren't asking those guys to win a bunch of base blocks and block inside zone or anything like that. But we were definitely undersized and just tried to get those guys to overachieve as much as they could.
Well, how long did you stay there?
So I was at Mount Zion for 7 years total. So my first 2 years, I was the offensive line coach, and then Jarrett Laws ended up getting the head job. So my third and fourth year there, I was the offensive coordinator for Jarrett Laws, and then he left to start the Charles Drew program over in Riverdale, and I was the head coach at Mount Zion for 3 years.
So I got to be the head coach at your alma mater.
I did, and I was probably too young and too inexperienced, and ended up a member of the Fired Football Coaches Association after the 2011 season.
Well, what was it like, being so young, getting your first head coaching job at home? Everybody says it's like trying to drink out of a fire hose. I mean, you think you're ready, but
no doubt you're never ready until you do. The only way to get ready to do it is to do it.
I agree with that 1,000%. I mean, I hammer on young coaches all the time about stuff, but I honestly do believe that if you have the opportunity and you think you're ready, baby, go for it. Because we can only tell you so much. Because there's things that are going to happen that you can't prepare somebody for.
For sure. And then you find out real quick that you wasn't ready at all. But you kind of learn on the job and do the best you can. My first year, we finished 8-2 and got into the playoffs. I got beat by a pretty talented West Side Macon team in the first round, and then
You were like, this is easy.
yeah,
This
I'm
ain't
like, hey
hard.
man, I can do this all day. Then the second year, we ended up having to self-report a ineligible player issue. Had to forfeit 5 wins and didn't make the playoffs. And then year 3 came around. We had 4 seniors on the roster, and 7 year, and we had a whole new administration in the school, and from top to bottom, new principal and all new assistant principals. And the new principal, I guess, decided she had seen enough and wanted to go in a different direction. So we did. We went in different directions.
And even when you're an alumni, you can't overcome administrative changes, can you?
No, you cannot. It's definitely something that makes you open your eyes. Even now, you got to make sure and look around when things start changing around you, for sure.
Yeah, that's been a common thing on most of the interviews and talks I've had with everybody is about chasing administration, not athletes. And, you know, when they come in and they have an idea of how they want things done, there's really nothing you can do to change their minds.
That's right. Unless you can win every game, I guess if you do that, you're safe. But anything outside of that, you might be in trouble.
So where were you able to get to after leaving Mount Zion?
So after leaving Mount Zion, Coach Laws at Drew offered me an offensive coordinator job over at Drew. So I went over there with him for 2 seasons and had a lot of fun and changed some of the ways I did things on offense, and kind of learned some terminology and language that he used for his no huddle offense, and tried to do the best job I could as an assistant coach and a coordinator, and just tried to learn how to be a better coordinator, a better play caller, a better game planner, and really dove into the work.
Who was y'all's defensive coordinator at Drew then?
Oh man. So I called him, my nickname for him was Josephus, but his name is Doran Lyles. I believe he's still there as the athletic director.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if Steve had gotten there yet.
So yeah, Doran Lyles, he did an awesome job. It's good to be around ball coaches and guys that enjoyed it and loved it and worked at it. So I got a lot of respect for Coach Lyles as well.
So you were there for 2 years.
Yeah,
at a new school, so that was probably kind of cool. I mean, it's still relatively new.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful building. We had it's a shared stadium because Clayton County shares all their stadiums, but it was right there on campus. So, if we were playing an in-county school, whether we were home or away, we were playing right across the street. We didn't have to get on a bus. So, cut down on travel a good bit. And yeah, it was definitely a good deal over there. Everything was new. People had expectations, and we had athletes, and it was a good deal.
So where did you go to after that?
So then Jarrett Laws interviewed and got hired for the Griffin job in 2014. So he was following Devo winning that state championship in 13, and Devo and Justin Rogers was on that staff. Rusty Easom, Brandon Byram was on that staff. It was a really good coaching staff, and but Devo ended up resigning, and they were looking for a new guy. They hired Coach Laws, and he asked me if I would go down there with him, and I said, sure, let's go do it. It was definitely a challenge, but it made me a better coach going down there into that community and coaching those kind of athletes as well.
Yeah, I've got an uncle that graduated from Griffin back in the early 80s, and that's a football crazy town right there.
Ain't no doubt about it now. They're very proud of their history. They're proud of their community, and there's a lot of athletes down there. They've got a ton of guys that ended up making it to the league, and they expect to win. They expect success. They expect you to win, and if they don't, you might be looking for a new job.
And how long were you there?
So I was there for 2 years. So again, after the first year, we had an administration change. And that second year, we finished 6-5. We got into the playoffs and lost to a Bainbridge team on the road in round one. I think Damian Pierce was a sophomore at the time, that running back that, we ended up going to Florida. I believe he's playing somewhere in the NFL right now, but he was pretty good as a 15, 16-year-old too.
Yeah.
But they ended up putting us out in the first round, and the new principal, I guess he had decided he had seen enough, and ended up letting Coach Laws go right before Christmas. So it was time to look for a new gig again.
And where did you end up?
I ended up at Our Lady of Mercy in Fayetteville. It's a single A private school. And spent 2 years there, and I think those 2 years I probably learned more about coaching than anywhere else, just because we had 30 dudes on the roster, and it was difficult trying to figure out how to schedule practice and get things done, keep your guys healthy, and get them to Friday night so you could compete. We had some high-level football players. We had a kid on the roster, Taj Dotson, that went on and played at Kentucky. Had a linebacker, Tyson Maguez, that signed with Georgia Tech out of high school. We had an offensive lineman that went on to West Georgia and just finished up playing. So we had talent. We just didn't have a ton of bodies, and we didn't necessarily have a ton of support financially. Budget was real tight within that school. The enrollment was down, so it was a tough job, but I definitely enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the kids and the community there. The 2 years that I was there, it was fun, and it was definitely professional development on the run.
Yes, it's coaching in single A. Everybody ought to do it once.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing like when bombs going off and you're like, hey, we got to put so-and-so out there. Well, you look on the sideline, you're like, well, I can't put him in. He'll get killed.
Right.
But there is nobody else.
Ain't no doubt. And we were in a region with Wesleyan and Eagles Landing Christian at the time. It was in the middle of their 4 state championships in a row. And we went down there, and what was that, 2017? We went down there in 17 and played them at their place. And I think we dressed 28 kids that night, and they had 75 dudes on the sideline. And their offensive line was like 6'4", 280 across the board. It was pretty. Keaton Mitchell was their running back that's playing with the Baltimore Ravens right now. I mean, I don't think we tackled him all night.
Their offensive line looked like you.
Yeah, but taller and more athletic.
Good Lord. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, so
that's rough.
Trying to figure out how to compete with the limited numbers, but it was good, and we ended up getting in the playoffs that second year, and we dressed 24 guys for a playoff game and went and competed our tails off and ended up losing by a touchdown. So our guys fought to the end. I was really proud of that group for sure.
Yeah, I think it says a lot to young coaches, especially these days, that haven't had the opportunity to coach at that level, to understand what it's like. And when you say we had 30 or 24 or, in that area, and you're just talking about on your varsity. No, I mean total.
Total. And out of that 24, only 13 of them could really play football. So, it was a lot of guys taking a lot of snaps.
Right. And just the logistics of trying to like you said, trying to figure out. I mean, they got to play special teams, offense and defense. There is no. I mean, it's Iron Man football.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to plug and play some kids that probably ain't got no business being out there.
That's right. When somebody rolls an ankle, you lose 3 players, not just 1.
Yeah, you got to start hiding people's babies out there.
That's right.
Oh, man, it's rough. I used to laugh about that with baseball. Like, you go out there to make a pitching change, and you're like, all right, if I put Jamie here, all right, now I got to move that guy over there. And you look in the dugout, and they're over there licking the side of the dugout. You're like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah. Who am I going to put at shortstop if I put him on the mound?
Yeah. So you're same thing in football is even worse because you're like, all right, well, how many centers do we have?
Right.
We're fixing to have a new one tonight.
That's right.
It's just stuff you don't think about. I mean, most younger coaches or even older coaches, if you're used to being around big programs, you don't think about stuff like that because you're like, next man up. You're like,
yeah,
next man's a 14-year-old freshman who I had to help put his pads on earlier.
Right. He put his thigh pads and the knee pads slide on his pants.
Yeah. He doesn't have a mouthpiece.
That's right.
We couldn't find a helmet that would fit him, not because his head's too big. Ain't enough air to put in it.
That's right.
So after Our Lady, where did you go after that?
So that's where after Our Lady, I ended up. I went to North Atlanta High School as the offensive coordinator for my good friend Sean O'Sullivan, and called the offense for him in 18 and 19. And then we ended up making the playoffs for the first time in 20-something years in 2019. And, it was a big deal. And, we had worked really hard to change some of the ideas and some of the culture within the program. And, it ended up helping Sean. He ended up getting the Centennial job, the head football coaching job at Centennial High School, like right in the middle of the pandemic. So when he got that job, they asked me to interview for the head job here at North Atlanta, and I did. I didn't know if I would get it or not, but luckily I did. And I've been here ever since. So I've been here at North Atlanta since spring of 2018.
Beautiful campus.
It is. It's very unique. It doesn't look like a school building at all from the street if you look at it. And it's really not. It was an IBM office building. It was, retrofitted for classrooms. So, but it is definitely the most unique campus. But it's a beautiful campus. It's beautiful facilities, nice athletic facilities out there. We got 2 fully turfed fields, one that's mainly used for soccer and lacrosse and things like that, and then kind of a main football field up on a hill where we play our home JV games and do most of our practices and things like that. And, we're definitely blessed at North Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, I talked to Sully at the GACA All-Star game, and I was like, got to get you on, and then trying to get in touch with him. I'd have a better shot at getting in touch with the Pope, I think, sometimes.
No doubt. No doubt. He's hard to run down sometimes, for sure.
But he stays busy. I mean, it's not like he avoids you. It's just he's that busy with kids and, everything he's got going on. But
for sure.
Great dude.
He's got them two little young ones that, I'm glad me and my wife, we're past that stage. Our youngest is a freshman in high school, so we see the light at the end of the tunnel. We about to put that last one out the building and then go live our best life.
Get him off the payroll.
That's right.
Yeah, mine's a junior, and I keep looking at him going, all right, what's next? Because you ain't living here forever.
That's right.
You better figure something out.
That's right.
I don't know. Well, you got about 6 months to know. Or I'm going to start making decisions for you.
There you go.
So North Atlanta, just a unique clientele. I mean, it's a nice part of the city. interesting setup, the way it's all set up. And you said the facilities are fantastic. And most people, they hear APS and they run for the hills. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've loved it there for what, 8 years now, 6 years now?
Yeah. So this is my this is my 7th year. So this is my 5th year as the head coach. So yeah, this is year 7, and then next year will be year 8. So, but yeah, I've loved it. The clientele is very diverse in our building. We get kids come from mansions. We get kids that come from apartments. I mean, we get every bit of the spectrum, and everybody in our building gets along pretty well. You know, I would very easily compare the school day at our place to what it was like at the private school I worked at. You know, it's not a whole bunch of ruckus. For the most part, the kids come and they do what they're asked to do, and our test scores are fairly high. You know, I believe, obviously, I think we lead the pack in Atlanta public schools in that regard, and you know, that makes the workday fairly pleasurable when you got good kids that want to be there for the right reason, and that kind of filters and translates into our football program too, because our kids are good kids that work hard, that, you know, want to do what it takes to win, and, you know, some of them want to continue playing football, and we do our best to help those kids that want to continue find a place in college. So it's been a great experience over the last 7 years.
So what's your overall coaching philosophy? Like, you sit down for an interview and they say, Coach, share with us, you know, your main tenets for your program. Go.
Well, obviously we want to build, we want to build our team in the weight room, January through March. We want to build a tough mental mindset. We want to work them as hard as we can, as fast as we can, for that hour and a half that we got them 4 days a week, so that when we get to practice and we get to games, that part of it's easy. So we want to put that together in the weight room. But then once you get on the field offensively, you know, we're going to be a spread, no huddle football team that plays with varying tempos. We want to run the football using gap and zone schemes. And then we want to throw the ball when we want to, not when we have to. So, you know, we want to take advantage of 2nd and 3 and stick the ball in our running back's belly and then throw it over your head for a touchdown. When we put it in the air, we want it to matter. We don't want to just throw dink and dunk for 2 and 3 yard gains. We want to take big chunks from you. So that's us on offense. And then defensively, we're going to be a multiple front defense, basing out of an odd front, and we're going to put pressure and dictate to the offense what they can and can't do. We don't want to let them dictate to us. We're going to stop the run, and then we'll see if you got Peyton Manning throwing the football.
And most people don't.
Correct.
So what are some of the biggest challenges for the guys out there listening that don't know exactly where North Atlanta High School is located? Like, what's the next closest? Because you can throw a rock in Atlanta and hit 5 high schools. What's the next closest school to you?
I would say the closest school campus to us would be Westminster.
Okay.
I can get to Westminster in less than 5 minutes from North Atlanta. So we're kind of surrounded with Westminster, Lovett, Pace, Holy Innocents are all within 5 miles of us. The closest public school would either be Campbell over in Cobb County or Riverwood over in Fulton.
Okay. So you don't really have to worry too much about public schools. Your main concern getting poached by private school guys.
For sure. For sure. And
which, I mean, they're going to do that anyway. I mean, that's just what it is.
And they don't really mess with our guys once we get them. Once they're on our campus, they don't mess with us. But them 8th graders now, they're after them. They're at all their middle school games, and you know they're talking with parents and shaking hands, and So they're after our 8th graders. So we got to, and luckily winning has helped with that. We're getting the lion's share of our guys from Sutton Middle School. There's only one feeder middle school that feeds into us, and we've been getting most of them for the past 3 or 4 years now.
Well, that makes a huge difference, I'd imagine. There aren't too many metro schools that have just one feeder.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah. So, yeah, it does. It helps us. It helps those kids know exactly where they're going. Like it's not split or divided between 3 high schools. They all come to us. So, yeah, it definitely helps. And the middle school is actually in the old North Atlanta High School campus. That's what is now Sutton Middle School. So they got really nice facilities over there, too. They've got a full-size baseball field, a softball field, a turf football field, all that stuff right there on their campus. So, and Coach Dupree over there does a really good job with that program. They come to us knowing a little bit of football, which is a huge plus.
So you grew up a South Metro guy. You've always been in the Metro. So there probably aren't that many things Metro-wise that, I'm not going to say bother you, but shock you is a better term for guys outside of metro areas.
Correct.
Where
Correct.
like buses and stuff like that, you're like, that's just what it is. Like it's part of the metro culture of you're going to get a bus when you get a bus. The schedule's going to be what it's going to be. There's so many schools in the area, they have choices. They can go wherever they want to. Like that kind of stuff doesn't bother you because of the culturally, metro culture is totally different than single school, county, out in the boondocks culture is different,
Absolutely. It's just kind of par for the course for us. And I tell people all the time, I've had coaches on our staff that are like, man, I wish we didn't have to drive 20 minutes to Henderson Stadium to play our home games. And I look at them, I'm like, I've been doing this 20 years and I've only coached at one school where we had our own stadium. Like every other place I've been, we've shared a stadium. So I'm used to it. It's not a big deal for me. So, having your own stadium would be nice. But then on top of that, that's a whole nother group of problems that maybe you don't want to have, maintaining that thing and staffing it on game days and things like that, where all we got to do on game day is get on the bus and pull up and we're going to play.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but that is something to be said for that, like not having to worry about field maintenance and gate workers and all that other stuff.
For sure. And it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work at Our Lady of Mercy when I was there. We had our own stadium there, and the grass had to be cut and them lines had to get painted and the logo on the middle of the field needed to get painted, and all that stuff takes a lot of time. So, having that shared stadium's not such a bad deal when you think of it that way.
Yeah, I just like for you guys in the metro area to share with everybody else, some of the challenges, which for someone like you, it's not a challenge. It's like you said, it's all you know.
Right.
So it's like, get on the bus, let's go.
That's it.
We're going to play. And, for somebody like me that's always been in rural areas, I'd be lost. I'd be like, we got to do what now? We've got to drive how far for a home game? Shut up, old man, get on the bus. We'll get you there. Don't worry about it. But, it's just different. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different.
Right. It is.
And that's why when I put the jobs out there, I tell people, I'm like, this is a metro guy job. And I say that to let people, if you're not a metro guy,
it's going to drive you crazy.
You better call some people that are metro guys so they can explain to you, how fundraising works, how booster clubs work, how, structuring practice works, how getting them where they have to be works, and all that kind of stuff, because it's totally different. I mean, it'd be the same thing if we dropped you off at, Blue County High School in the middle of wherever.
For sure.
And said, all right, all of this that you see in front of you, everything that the sun touches is yours.
I'd probably have a panic attack. But that would only be if my wife would let me go down there, because I don't think she She didn't sign up to live in Blue County, Georgia.
No, and that's what we try to explain to people. We're like, when there's coaching changes and they're like, who wouldn't want to come to, wherever, let's say, our made up Blue County? And I'm like, well, people that live in Metro Atlanta, it's pretty cool if you like going to, I don't know, Walmart. You live in Blue County and you have to drive an hour to get to one. That ain't real attractive to the women folks most of the time. Or
that's right.
Your wife looks at you and she can't go shopping, or she can't go get away from us and go do, whatever, go out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Start looking at you crazy when you roll up into some little podunk place that ain't got gas station and don't have a McDonald's, or
that's right.
Kids start looking at you crazy. Dad, where'd you bring us to?
That's right. So that's why I know better to even mention or ask my wife about how she would feel about going out, because I already know. We've been married 15 years, going on 16, and I already know where her mind's at. So I like having a peaceful life at home, and so we're going to stay right here within 30, 40 minutes of Atlanta for sure.
And see, that's fair. I'm dead opposite. I mean, we lived up in the Atlanta metro area. My wife worked inside the perimeter, and we had to deal with my son going to Children's all the time. We had to take him up there and do stuff, and I hate Atlanta. I mean, I'll say it unabashedly, I hate it. But I'm just not, I don't like people. I don't like large groups of people. I don't like the traffic. There's nothing about it that appeals to me whatsoever at all. But With that being said, I can also understand that where I live, there's nothing about it, not one thing at all, that appeals to other people about living where I live. It's just different, what you're used to and what you like.
For sure.
So we have the opposite. I mean, my wife knows, Atlanta, no, we're not living there. Or, any kind of big Augusta, no. Savannah, no. My next stop's going to be mountains, log cabin, looking for Bigfoot probably. That's
right. Now, I might be able to talk my wife into that. She loves, well, maybe it's only for the week or 3 or 4 days that we go, but she loves going to a cabin up in the mountains for sure.
Yeah, if I can get to, we've lived in places where the closest Walmart was like, we were at Early County. You had to go to either Bainbridge or Dothan, Alabama, which was 45 minutes either direction to get to a Walmart. And
I can't sell that one.
Yeah, that was a problem. Well, I mean, but that's what we were used to. So, but even then, it was like, God almighty, like she had to plan out, shopping trips and grocery store trips. We had a grocery store, but if you wanted like the fancy grocery store, if you wanted Kroger or
right,
you wanted Publix or something like that, you had to plan that trip, Jack. That was something serious.
Something other than the Food Depot you had to roll, huh?
You got that right, the Piggly Wiggly. But I mean, it's like Coach Drayton over at McNair, and we talked about he was taking their kids to away games in the country, playing places that weren't metro schools, and those kids get just as blown away by those settings as country kids get when you take them to go play Aull.
For sure.
Because some of those kids have never been to the city. They've never been to Atlanta. Just like some of your kids, they've never been to the country. They're like, where are we at?
Where are we at? Why does my phone only have one bar on it?
So what are some things over the 20 years, you've always been in Metro, but has anything changed in the game? Is anything with the kids or coaches? Is there anything you've noticed over the years that the high school game in Georgia is changing at all?
I mean, yeah, for sure. There's a couple things. I mean, obviously, I think the younger coaches are obviously looking for accelerated movement. There's not a lot of patience on that end. We've been blessed on our staff where our young guys have really been hard workers, and none of them have pulled me to the side and said, "All right, coach, I've been here for a year. Can I coordinate the offense for you?" So we haven't had any of those issues, but just looking for position coaches over the last couple of years and guys come in with their whole playbook and want to tell me how they're going to run the offense when really I just asked you to come interview for a receivers coach's job. You know, that part of it has definitely changed for sure. You know, and then parents have changed throughout the years. I mean, I don't think necessarily the kids have changed as much. I think the parents have changed as youth sports has changed, and you know, there's a lot of involvement and entitlement on that side of it, to where when they get to high school, they think it's going to be the same, and it's not. You know, I went to college and got a degree and spent the last 20 years coaching high school football because I want to coach high school kids, not 40-year-old parents. So that part of it has changed a little bit too. And then, you know, you look at administrations, there's not as many of us as far as coaches that are getting into administration like it was when I went to school. Everybody's assistant principal or even head principal was a football coach at one point in time in their career, and that's definitely not the case anymore either. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, we just got to continue to evolve as coaches and learn how to get the most out of our kids in spite of all of it. You know, sitting around and maybe complaining about it's not going to change the fact that your principal wasn't a football coach, or that little Timmy's mama thinks he's a D1 prospect and he's 5'7". We're just going to get the most out of them that we can, and hopefully they have the best possible high school experience that they can have while they're with us. And if it's in the cards for them to play college football, we're going to do the best that we can to get them an opportunity. And that's just kind of been my philosophy over the last several years. And again, I'm not saying that to say we've got huge issues at North Atlanta, because we don't. I'm talking in broad terms.
Right.
But you know, we've been blessed at North Atlanta with a supportive community, supportive parents, supportive administration. I just know it's not like that everywhere, because I've got a lot of friends in coaching, and we talk with each other, and I hear stories, and you know, so you know, those things have changed, but I think our game is strong enough to withstand it. And I think we got enough good coaches in this state, young and old, to keep this thing rolling in the state of Georgia.
I agree with you 1,000%, my guy. And the fact that you hit on several good points right there, but the main one is, to me, the fact that you've been there for going on 8 years speaks volumes about your support and your administration, and because you wouldn't still be there,
right?
You know,
for sure.
We know guys that you're two men in a truck away from a better situation at any given time, and
That's right.
And you know, it happens. You know, things beyond our control. You know, they come in and tell you, "Hey, we're making a change," and when you're a younger guy, there's not much you can do about it. You know, we need your teaching slot, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And
all right.
you know, it's just okay then, and then you go to the next one. But the fact that you've been able to stay, that speaks loudly to the support you're receiving there, and the kind of kids that you're able to pour into, and everything you're getting from that administration there, and you know, those that know.
That's right.
Because we, like you said, we know guys that, you know, every time you talk to them, it's something. Well, it's like, as soon as I see their number come up, I'm like, well, what happened now?
Right.
And it's not
crazy.
It's not them. It's, you know, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear what went on today. You know, it's going to be something insane.
Right. And usually it never has anything to do with the kids. It's some adult in the situation, whether it's an assistant coach or a parent or an admin or something. It's never the kids that cause you to pull your hair out.
No, because kids are kids.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people that all the time. I can deal with kids. It's the grown people I have a hard time with. I guess I expect too much out of them. I don't expect a whole lot out of a 16, 17-year-old boy. I mean, I was one. I remember how I was and still am. I mean, you know, we're dudes. We do what we do. So
that's right.
We're going to do dumb things. So I don't put it past them, but grown people, I expect a little bit more than we get sometimes out of them. But man, I sure have enjoyed you coming on and sharing your story with us. And I hope you get to spend your next 10 years, finish off your career there at North Atlanta and keep winning and keep following you guys and seeing the success y'all continue to have there.
Man, that would be a blessing, and Lord willing, that would be a perfect ending to my career for sure.
Well, I hope you get to do it, and thanks for being on with us, Coach.
All right, appreciate you. Thanks for having me.